Wait, I just pushed the button. It should just take a moment to come through. There we go.
Okay. Super. So I'll just say a brief thing about the purpose of this meeting. We'll do some introductions. Then Rich from Highest Point is going to speak to us for a bit about the details of the festival and what he's got planned. And then we'll have a question and answer comments session where you can ask your questions and give us your feedback. So I just want to say at the start that the event is booked, so this meeting isn't about the principle of the festival happening. That is going to happen, but it is a conversation about the impacts that it might have on residents, your experiences perhaps from last time, and how we can mitigate those going forwards. Okay, so we'll just do some introductions. I've already said who I am, although that's pre-recording, so maybe I should do it again. So I'm Councillor Dave Brooks, Cabinet Member for Environmental Services. We'll just go around. So we've got Will. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. So my name's Will Griffith. I'm the head of Public Realm, and one of my roles within my job is to oversee the strategic management of parks and open spaces in the district, which includes Williamson Park, which is the venue for Highest Point.
Caroline.
Hi everyone, so I'm Caroline Walsh. I'm Community Connector Manager for Lancaster City Council. So our role really is around supporting the communities out within the district and making the council easy and accessible to all of our residents.
Rich.
I'm Rich. I'm one of the co-founders of Highest Point, and my role is effectively a direct relationship around licensing and council relations and residents and many other things, but I'm the one that speaks officially, so to speak.
Okay, and if the residents that are joined us want to just say briefly who they are, you don't have to if you don't want to, but if you do, that's fine. So Emma, you've got your camera on already.
Yeah, hi, Emma Slater. I'm a resident up at Kershaw Drive. Moved in 2019, so haven't lived up this end of Lancaster while the concert's been on, festival's been on. So looking forward to hearing how it's going to affect or not affect me.
Okay, anyone else want to switch your camera on and just introduce yourself?
Hi, my name's Ben Ramsey. I'm a local resident. I'm just on Cormer Road. I went to the festival a couple of years ago. We're babysitting this year, so we're not going. We're letting the daughter go instead.
Thanks, Ben.
I'm Jim Mann, just a resident down at in Balmoral Road towards the cathedral. Just interested to see what's going to be happening this year and how it will differ from previous years.
Okay, and we have Paula, I think, struggling with signal, so.
Hi, I think my audio is fine. I'm Paula Skidmore, and I actually live right in the centre of town, so not immediately next to the park, but hoping to attend this year, and also worried or concerned slightly in terms of COVID restrictions and what that will mean for attendance. So it was more that aspect of it, plus the knock-on effect that always happens when there's a big event around traffic and parking, which does impact us, more centrally. That's it, really.
Okay, thanks. And Fiona's just joined us. Fiona, do you want to switch your camera on and just say hello? We're just doing some introductions.
Hi, sorry, I'm just. Have you got me?
Yes,
yeah.
You're just a local resident.
Yes, I am. Yeah.
Okay, right. So we're going to hand over to Rich now, who's going to tell us about his plans for the festival.
Okay, great.
Oh, I've disappeared. There we are. So I am Richard Dyer. I am one of the three main organisers of the Highest Point Festival, and as I touched upon at the start, I do the majority of the work around licensing, security, police relationships, council relationships, fire brigade, making sure we're looking after people is essentially on my shoulders, delivering a safe event and the planning that goes around that. I am involved with other areas of the festival, including artists and all sorts of other stuff, but essentially the main bit is the relationships. Highest Point started, I've been involved in events for 20 plus years now, and our relationship with Lancaster in an events factor, we started putting events on inside the prison wing, inside Lancaster Castle, the A-wing events. That relationship was working with the Duchy of Lancaster. I was very fortunate enough to meet the Queen in the end, who accused me of being the noisy one inside the prison. It was all true. We then carried on A-wing. It reached the natural end, so to speak. It was prior to the development of the castle, etc. And we, through our fourth partner, who's no longer with us, Chris, who we sadly lost to cancer, we'd already booked the Hacienda Classical show, which was the first time Hacienda Classical was going to be seen anywhere. And we spoke to Will when he was in more of the park management role about putting on the Hacienda Classical show. I think it was 2016, might have been 15. I've slept since then. And that was a one-stage Sunday night extravaganza, 70-piece orchestra in the bottom of the memorial, effectively. We lost Chris that year, so we took a year off from events. We did a lot of regrouping, a bit of soul searching, and we thought what Chris would have wanted more than anything was for us to continue in a good light, and Highest Point was born, which was a multi-stage use of the park. The main stage in the same position. We have a stage up in front of between the Butterfly House and the Memorial, which we call the Chris Glaber stage. We used the sundial, we used the dell, we effectively, any bit of flat space we can find in Williamson Park, and there isn't very much of that, we tend to use as a performance space. And that was a 3-night show. The following year we did a 2-day event plus the family day on the Sunday. And then obviously we had an event booked in for May 2020, which didn't go to plan because of COVID. We've ended up rescheduling that show effectively 3 times. We were going to move it to September. We then moved that to May, and then May we're now moving to September effectively. And so we've literally moved weddings and earth to make that happen, with all the logistical nightmares to go with it. A positive spin on that is that the demand for going out more than ever. You know, we'd already sold more tickets, but since COVID, we're pretty much reaching a sellout show on all the nights, and we have been offered and accepted to run a couple of extra nights, which are just one-stage concerts on the Thursday night and the Sunday night, and then effectively to run them finishing at 10 p.m. on the Sunday. So every year we strive to work not only with the council, with all the authorities, but also listen and talk to local residents to make improvements to the event. Many of you, when we did the first Highest Point weekend, got in touch because of the family day, certainly on the the family day was sort of during the day on the Saturday and Sunday, and there was a lot of parking issues in the area. We completely understood that. We hadn't accounted for the family day, effectively people wanting to park because of children, buggies, etc., whereas the actual evening gigs, we have very little vehicles that come to the site. The majority of our audience is from Lancaster and Morecambe, and they walk up to the event. We address the parking. We've in previous years, last event we introduced a road closure, which is A, to protect the residents, B, to protect the safety of the event, and C, effectively it does help with counter-terrorism mitigation and stuff like that as well, which is conversations that unfortunately we do have to have with the police. So that's a resident only access along Lifestyle Road. If you were present for it at the last event, that'll be exactly the same. There's no changes to that. With the parking down on the Auction Mart and the Farmers Field opposite Grab Lane. But again, looking at our parking numbers for the festival days and not the family day, they are sort of really low numbers of vehicles that are wanting to park. The majority are arriving by other means. So it is 4 nights this year. Thursday night is an evening concert. That's 5 p.m. finishing at 11 p.m. Friday is a sort of traditional festival, as in previous years where we've done 2 p.m. till 12 p.m. with the majority of stages are shut at 11 p.m. Saturday is 12 a.m. to 12 p.m. Again, the majority of stages, including the main stage, they shut at 11. We then on the Sunday we have the daytime family day, and then after that we have a concert with Rick Astley, which is 5 p.m. and that will be finished at 10 p.m. and obviously everyone just will be clearing the site after that. So those 4 days are covered by premises license. That license is in my name. I'm the premises supervisor for that event. It's not. It was granted by Lancaster City Council, and then with that we have a sort of a large number of conditions that we have to meet and are monitored throughout the event, like say from a policing factor, from a fire safety, from noise, environmental health. So we produce it's about a 25-page noise management plan that looks at all the stages, what sound levels we use, and what the impact on the local area will be as part of that. Interestingly, and a lot of people maybe don't realise that, but the actual background noise that's permitted is permanently louder on quite a number of streets around Williamson Park because of the M6. The background noise levels are effectively illegal all the time around there. So when we add to it, we obviously designed the site. We put in sort of stuff like we build an acoustic wall in front of the butterfly house so we don't reflect sound off down to the town centre and stuff like that. And that's constantly monitored throughout the event, as is the security and stuff like that. So we've got a constant relationship. There's a meeting that takes place every 2 to 3 hours throughout the running of the event with all the authorities, and stuff's just fed back and looking at stuff like that, including any sort of live resident issues that are happening. I've just come out of a very extensive meeting with the police just this morning, and they were talking that they are going to, because it's effectively one of the first large events in the last 2 years in the area, so to speak, they are going to have a sort of a very active presence, so to speak. They're going to have increased policing. They're putting a small community police station outside the event as well. So if you do have any issues with any attendees or anything like that, you can go straight to them and talk to them, and they'll relay that back to us as event organisers. And you know, we've put additional sort of mobile security around the perimeter of the park, as well as working with Will here and stuff like that around the cleansing and the sort of the general area of the event. So, you know, every year we want to build, we want to improve, we want to listen. We do realise that we have an impact on people in the area. I think the majority of the impacts can be quite positive for Lancaster and Morecambe area, so certainly economically, and there's a lot of people, and I hope you yourself come and enjoy the event, but also at the same time whilst recognising that, you know, there can be issues when there's a number of people in any area, and you know, we want to diffuse them and address them and improve the experience for everyone. So that's me.
Thanks, Rich. That's a really helpful detail. Okay, so I see Emma's got straight in with a hand up. So,
Rich, sorry, can I just confirm that the only road closure is going to be Wyresdale Road?
So that's the main road closure. That's a man's road closure that sits effectively from Air Lane to the top of Colston Avenue. People get diverted down Wyresdale Road. And then what we also do is there's a couple of properties on there where it's an unmanned road closure. So Clougher Avenue and I think it's Anderson Close as well, where in the past we've spoke to the residents on that street and just put barriers across that to stop people parking on there. But at the bottom of Colston Drive, we signpost effectively to say there's no access to the festival this way and or whatever else.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
thanks. Does anyone else? Ben?
Yeah, hi, Rich. So you're not closing Quormer Road then, the back entrance to the park?
You can't access the event there, but the actual Quormer Road itself is open to traffic.
Okay.
Anyone else? Any questions? So Paula's typing in the chat, so. We'll take Fiona in the meantime then.
Yeah. So I live on Colston Road, and I've enjoyed Highest Point. I have been there before and enjoyed it, so and thought it was really well organised. My only issue with living on Colston Road is that it has impacted on my own parking, and I can't remember whether it was last year, the last one or the one before that, but I had visitors up and they couldn't park anywhere near. So all down Colston Road, although it might be. And there's probably not a lot you can do about it, but that's where people park if there's park events. And they actually came down the back, and I've got one space at the back in the back alley, and someone had parked there as well. So I was a bit stuck. So but I don't know whether there's anything that can be done about it really.
Will you have signage up, Rich, saying like festival parking in this location?
I mean, the traffic, especially when it's a local audience coming to a local event, effectively, it can be a challenge. So
yeah,
we could apply to close Colston Road. When you put a road closure application in, you've got to have a very good reason for it. And although outside the event, we effectively have a safety risk because when the event ends and you have a few thousand people coming out, it's not safe to have vehicles going up and down it. Lancashire County Council would look at the Colston Road and say, well, actually, yes. Now, coming back to Quormer Road, we police coned it in previous years. We found most of the police cones in the Lancaster Grammar Field because people just, if people know there's back streets, they tend to find them. And that, I guess it's a permanent struggle, and I can only apologise for it. I guess we could offer you alternative parking for your, but that seems a bit daft. You know what I mean? It's like saying, oh, well, if you can't park, you can park here, but you'd have to walk. I just it does, unless you sort of permanently manning it, and it's very difficult to man something when you haven't actually got a jurisdiction over it. Because if you go back to highways, they'll say, well, actually, people are allowed to park, unless it's a double yellow line. People are allowed to park anywhere, and that's an issue that we face. So I'll go away. I'll have another conversation with people and see if there's anything we're missing. But I do feel we will struggle a bit with that, Fiona. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, I was thinking it'd be difficult, but it's just an inconvenience. But it is only.
Yeah, unfortunately, people as well tend to park as close as they can. So if you close Colston Road, they'll park on Bowerham, and we'll just keep pushing it back down. Yeah.
And the other thing that I was just going to ask, I can't remember this last time it was open. There seemed to be a real slow delay in getting into the event itself. I can't remember what they said about entry into it, or whether you could come in and out. Is it just it was a certain, you had to go, you couldn't go to it, you had to be in by 11 o'clock or something like that to get in for the day. Was there something like that?
It won't have been as early as 11 now. We do have a last entry. It'll be around 8 p.m. these days. I mean, this you effectively have a couple of challenges. You have your last entry because you want people in, you want to be able to manage them, you want them safely. As you'd probably be aware, we bring them in through the car park, they go around the lake. We are operating in September rather than May, so the light levels are going to be different. And we do need a cut-off point for letting people in. Letting people go in and out, we try and discourage it. The main reason for that is if once you come in, you do get a search. You know, we're looking for drugs, we're looking for weapons, we're looking for smuggled alcohol, stuff like that. If you let people go in and out, then effectively we don't know what they're doing when they're going home or wherever they're going or whatever the sort of effective plan is. And that is generally a rule at events. Now, if somebody says, oh, I need to nip out and get some cash, I want to go home and get my coat, you know, we do make exceptions, but they are really sort of based on a risk assessment by the security at the time on what we actually think those intentions are, because you just don't know what.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, I remember it now as you're speaking. I think it was just. I thought I'll go along later. Like I didn't want to go at 8. And
yeah,
I'm here, I can just do. I can just leave my house and go. And then they're saying, oh no, you have to be there by 8, and you can't go.
Yeah, I think for a show that finishes at 11, we aim to get everyone in by about 8 o'clock, because then you've got other areas that are busy and your security resources get reallocated and stuff like that around the site. So obviously at your entry, you've got people welcoming you, you've got your scanning, you've then got your searching, stuff like that. It's quite a lot of resource just to let 50 people in that might want to come after sort of 8 o'clock kind of thing. So it's just all to do with that, effectively.
Is it going to be spread out because of COVID or anything this year?
What, the entry or?
Yeah.
We're using the majority of Wisedale Road parking for entrance. I mean, we are in a situation, and our agreement has been all along that we'll work with the council based on government guidelines. The government guidance at the moment is slightly murky because they've not passed some of the stuff that they effectively said they're going to pass. We are asking for the use of the NHS pass on entry. That's a thing that you can either get the barcode sent to you, or you can ideally have it on your phone. That shows whether you've had either a double vaccination, you've uploaded a lateral flow test result that's negative, obviously, or you've had COVID in the previous 180 days, and therefore you believe to have the antibodies. There'll be risk mitigation inside the event. So we've got a big top that goes on the sundial. That'll be 50% of the sides will be off. Obviously more hand sanitizer and stuff like that. But effectively, the approach for events now is that you're in, and it's kind of your choice whether you're, A, wearing a mask, or B, if you stood down the front and you're shoulder to shoulder with people, then that's down. There's not a lot we can do about that. We don't have to allow for social distancing at events. We do use a big space at the park, and we sell less tickets than what we have capacity, effectively. So if you did think, oh, it's getting a bit crowded, I want to go and find a bit of quiet space, then you can do. There's plenty of that, but ultimately, no, there's not a great deal we can do to space stuff out, apart from, like I said, the initial sort of NHS pass, and that will therefore say, hopefully the majority of people in here are not carrying COVID anyway, so to speak.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks, Rich. Just going back to the parking, and I've got some questions from Paula. I just wanted to ask whether you would have signage up at, for example, Barham Roundabout, just saying festival parking is at this location.
Yeah, so we
help
have
dissuade people from parking on the road, hopefully.
Yeah, so we have a full traffic management plan, and as part of that, there's something like 56 signs in total that go out to divert people away from Wisdale Road, because even if you're just trying to drive past, you can't. And also festival parking. All our communication that we put out is that to effectively come up Cormer Road and along Grab Lane to the festival parking. Again, it does come back to the, well, I know the area better, what you're sending me that way thing for, and we can't do much about that. We have a shuttle bus that comes up from town. We have communication with all the taxi drivers that they're going to be asking to drop off at Northwest Auction, because again, there was a lot of cars just sat idling outside people's houses with the engines running, and it's like, you try and tell the driver and they don't care. So we're communicating to the, basically trying not to don't get picked up outside, but again, I don't really have any authority over any of these people, and they tend to do what's easiest for them in that respect outside the event.
Okay, so Paul has asked a few questions. One is, will attempts be made to increase the park and ride facility? I'm not quite sure whether she's referring to the. Paul, do you want to ask the question so we understand exactly what you mean?
Sorry, yeah, I was just putting random thoughts down. The park and ride, the big one that's by the motorway.
It is that.
Whether there's an increased frequency of the actual shuttle bus, and whether the shuttle bus would incorporate a drop off actually at the site rather than it being the town, because then people have got to get another shuttle bus up, so just thinking ahead, people who are actually coming from further outside, even from Morecambe, they could go and do the park and ride and then get the shuttle bus from there. It's especially with the bypass now, so there's things that may not have happened before, maybe they did, I don't know, I wasn't the last one, but now we have the shuttle facility, and that's got a certain capacity, So it's just whether that's part of the traffic plan, and obviously you don't want to be going into minute detail as to what your traffic plan is, but for those of us who might need to get in and out on days when we're not attending, we still need to actually navigate physically leaving our homes. And sometimes that's a challenge in Lancaster, as everyone knows. So it's just thinking ahead about that, and whether that's part of it. And I'm assuming that maybe for the streets that we've just been talking about, where there has been problems in the past, couldn't we do the temporary resident thing that we do, like for instance at the fireworks events, where we put up, you can't park here unless you're a resident, and it's a temporary thing. So you don't need a residence permit, it's just that you can't park here unless you're a resident or obviously a friend of a resident. It's not necessarily policed, but it's a disincentive then, and it has worked okay down, like I live just by the quay, close to the city centre, and it does work okay for the fireworks. People do abide by it, because I think they do think they're going to get ticketed if they park there. So it's just a kind of, a thing that you could just add in maybe to the pinch point streets where that does happen or has happened.
So for the fireworks, are they council-led residents?
Yeah, I mean, I live right by Key Meadows, so that's why I know what happens with the traffic here for that. And okay, I know it's just for one evening and it's not the same as the whole weekend, but people do abide by it. And, we can come in and out as residents and we can park as residents, but people who are attending the firework can't, basically.
Yeah.
It's made, it's designated around this area for like an exclusion zone almost for us. Yeah. So it protects us, given the numbers that come to that event. It's quite important. And I've never had a problem getting in and out, is what I'm saying, over that time period. Whereas I have had problems with festivals in the past, not saying your festival, but, it's like kind of thinking about what has worked well in the past and trying to put that into the mix as well.
Yeah, 100%. Will, is that?
Dave's got a perspective on that, because Dave, you'll be aware of that.
I'm muted. I am aware, but I'm not sure whether that's actually a road closure, but hopefully will know.
Yeah, my understanding is that it's very similar, Rich, to probably what you do with regards to your road closure between Eyre Street and Wyresdale Road. So, you know, where you actually offer something to residents to say that they can still access, you know, their properties, and they can come and go. But obviously it stops just other people parking within that vicinity. We can get more detail on it for you to see if
I was going to say, are they like council signage though, or?
I think it'd be like a council permit, yeah, that our teams will probably just put out just to, because against at the back of Key Meadow, we operate an off-street car park, and there's resident parking permits on a lot of that area as well. So that's the reason we'll maintain that. Whether or not
we about a week before or 2 weeks before, we get a note through that we can stick on our cars, which is just like a, you know, saying this, you are a resident, and, you know, therefore you just put it in the windscreen. And then on the actual eve, the day of the event, they put up like pretty good hazard signs on all the lampposts and all the rest of it. So it's still accessible at that point. You know, anyone can drive in and anyone could park, but it seems to work as a reasonable deterrent because it's put up quite visibly, and it, you know, it's quite a heavy warning. And then what happens is, at the point that the event's going to happen, then there is actually a kind of notional barrier. But having said that, anyone could, I mean, really, it's just a person in high vis. So anyone could drive past it, and we drive past it as residents. So it's not a barrier, but it just means that it's a visible like ring being put around us, so that we know that we can come in and come out. And we've still got emergency access for obvious reasons, with it being the fireworks event. But it's like, it's just something that everyone abides by. And I'm just thinking, you know, like, there is a sense that people do cooperate with stuff when they realise actually this is being done for a reason. In this case, there's like thousands of people that come and stand on Key Meadow. Clearly not everyone could come and park down here, so it's like logical why people abide by it. And if you just push that into this realm and say, well, the same festival goers are wanting to go and have a good time, but they're also not going to want to piss people off. You know, it's about knowing that it might piss people off to come and park in this street, you know, especially people who don't perhaps live in this immediate area. So I just think like getting the right message through to both the participants and the residents is part of it. I'm kind of thinking all the new builds around right near the park, they're going to have a ripple effect on this now, which hasn't, you know, that those are places that didn't exist before for some of these events. So it's thinking about that too. They may need the same thing.
Yeah, I think it's a good point, Paul, and it's something we'll take on board, and we as a city council from an events team can work with Richard on, you know, getting the finer detail and finding out if that's something that's suitable around Williamson Park.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly the biggest impacts on parking that we have is the family fun day. It's the Sunday during the day, because there are a large number of families that it's just a lot easier. You know, 2 lads myself, it's a lot easier to put them in the car than it is to put them on a train and then a bus and then whatever else, especially when you got to lug all the stuff that children bring with them when they're young, certainly. So yeah, we'll certainly, you know, I'd like to pick up on that conversation, Will, if we can.
Okay, I think Emma wants to come in on this as well.
Yeah, sorry. I didn't live around here when previous Highest Point festivals have been on, but are you saying that where I live, Kershaw Drive, the residents, there's obviously quite a spare amount of car parking space. Is there nothing in place to stop people from parking immediately round our properties, is what you're saying?
On Kershaw Drive, no, but I'm also not aware of any issues in previous years in that area.
Oh, wow.
Because our main entrance is opposite Wyresdale Road, you can't get into the park via the Corner Road entrance whatsoever. So for people to park there and walk all the way around,
I see.
it's very unlikely. And it's certainly not a conversation that's ever been brought to my attention.
Okay, all right, brilliant, thank you.
Can I just add to that point as well, Emma? Welcome. I know this is your first time experiencing Highest Point, but I also live in that area and we've never had any issue. Just to put your mind at rest, it might not be the same this year, but in previous years we've not experienced any issues at all with parking.
Super, thanks, Caroline. Has anyone else got any questions? I'm aware that the Callums also joined us. No. Okay, well, if that's it, then thanks very much to everyone for coming. If you think of something later, Caroline's just at the end of an email address, which she's about to put in the chat. So do get in touch with Caroline's as first point of contact, and we'll try and answer anything further that comes to us. But other than that, thanks very much, everyone, for contributing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers then.
Thanks, everyone.